Welcome to the Morning Formation. This episode is powered by Act Now Education. Warriors fall in. It's time for formation. I'm very fortunate today to have a guest who is here for the second time. And earlier in the year, I guess 2 years ago, maybe, we had a conversation with Sumi, and she was talking about her background being in the United States Army and then transitioning out of the Army, going to Customs and Border Protection, and then ultimately found a job utilizing Act Now Education's services. And just recently followed up with Sumi, and she had decided to start her own business, becoming a very bold, very courageous entrepreneur. And we briefly spoke about what she was doing, and I was absolutely amazed with everything. And I thought that it was really important for me to share with the rest of the Morning Formation community on where Sumi is right now, because, you know, she's the type of person, she immigrated from East Africa when she was 11 years old. She speaks 4 languages, very impressive professional. So today, Sumi, I got you on board because I want you to tell everyone what you're into, what you're doing right now with your business, and why you decided to step into entrepreneurship overall.
Thank you, KP. So right now I'm doing product sourcing for t-shirts and hoodies for small companies who want to put their logos on them for branded apparels. And I'm getting those products from Egypt right now, and I'm branching out to Bangladesh. And my minimum is usually 50 t-shirts per design. And normally the overseas companies, their minimum is like 600 to 1,000. But small companies like me, they can't really, they don't have that many employees, or they don't have that kind of finance to afford like to spend like thousands of dollars on t-shirts, you know? So my business is just going on 2 years now, and I'm trying to help myself and other small businesses also get up in the rise, and by helping them get like affordable t-shirts with their logo on them, so they could go out and sell those t-shirts or hoodies and make money from them, and, you know, establish their small business as well. And recently, my clients, I love my clients because they keep giving me new ideas. They were like, well, I am a moving company and I want to have like boxes with my logo on them. And I want to have the wrapping sheets and the blankets, but I want them like at a cheaper rate than I could find in the United States, which it's found cheaper in Egypt, which I have family and connections, which we're working on getting that for them to from Egypt to the United States. So the fact that I'm able to source globally to help small businesses here in the United States compete with bigger companies is something I take pride in. And I got into entrepreneurship because of my kid. I have a 5-year-old. He's going to be 6 soon. He's diagnosed with autism. He was diagnosed when he was 2 years old, 2.5. And I used to take him to a lot of appointments and just so many activities. And it's really hard to keep a full-time job when you're taking a child to appointment like 4 or 5 times a day, like a week. And it's just, so when it comes to picking between your child and, you know, and your job, I chose my child. And I was fortunate enough to do it because I was a military member and a veteran and had benefits. And I was able to leave, you know, my positions and choose, you know, being a business owner and taking care of it.
It's hard to transition out of the military and find like an ideal job. What has inspired you to go from the safety of government work into entrepreneurship? Because in entrepreneurship, you take a huge risk and no one's telling you. It's not like the military where they tell you what time to show up for formation, what to wear, when to pivot. So as an entrepreneur, you have to tell yourself when to pivot, when to do this, when to do that. Can you talk about how you overcame, because you were enlisted in the military, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
you were a culinary arts or cook otherwise,
Culinary
right?
specialist. Yes, I was a cook.
Culinary specialist, right? So, but with that being said, like, how do you go from being a lower enlisted soldier to being an entrepreneur where basically like you're having to pivot on your own?
So my background did help. So my family, like my dad, when I was a kid, he had his own store, like back in Saudi Arabia, and he had his own store. And then when he was in the United States, like he had like this international store that he used to sell like clothing and stuff. So I have that background, and I come from an international community. So the languages is like you're born, like you're automatically speaking two languages, and we're Muslims, so the Arabic is added to it. And then it's just kind of like Arabic, Tigrinya is the original language, then Arabic together. And then you watch a lot of foreign shows, which I used to do, and then I learned Turkish and then English when I came to America. So just kind of like the languages. So me being an international person and learning languages, being a culinary specialist did not limit me, or being an enlisted did not limit who I was. So when I was leaving or transitioning, I wasn't just like, oh my God, I'm just an enlisted. What am I going to do? No, I was doing other things, and I had other skills and talents that I was honing that when I got out, to be able to use. And I have this thing where, like, since I was a kid, where I don't like to give a certain power or position to an authority or to anybody where they're my only source of survival. Like I have to have like multiple ways. Like I have to be able to survive without depending on one entity. So that drives me to move forward. And then with entrepreneurship, like the first year was really tough because I wasn't doing this brand, like this promotional products or this apparel at the beginning. I was doing consulting. I was ready to export vehicles out of the country. Everything was set up. I arranged the people who were going to sell the cars here, the wholesalers in the United States. And then I traveled to Dubai and Saudi Arabia by myself and arranged the buyers over there. And I removed the middleman, the auction folks, because that was their issue. And I was like, don't worry, I'll remove that fee for you. And I arranged the freight forwarders, did like just everything. And I was so prepared on a high level, something that I prepared for, years before I even started my business. And then it fell through, and I spent so much money, so much time. And at this time, my son was with my sister because I was first year of my business. I was like, okay, I'm doing this for my kid. So I was like, I need to jumpstart my business. I was like, I need this time. So my sister was generous enough to like take care of my kid while, for that entire year last year. And while I was taking care of my business, so that business deal fell through. So for about a couple months where I was just like, why did I even get into entrepreneurship? I was just like, I should just give up. I don't even want to do this anymore. Like, why did I even get into it? And then in moments like this, there's this book, The Struggle is Where Greatness Comes From. I'm trying to think the author, by Ben Horowitz. There's even an excerpt that he talks about, he talks about how entrepreneurship is really difficult and it sucks and it's just a terrible thing. But at the end is like greatness, the struggle is where greatness comes from. So I kept rereading that, and it's just, I was reminded why I'm doing it. This is something bigger than myself. It's to help myself, my community, my kid, a small business owner. So it's just kind of like remembering that I'm doing this for something bigger than myself. And then the fact that my kid was overseas I was like, okay, because then I was like, oh my God, the sunken cost fallacy. I was like, I sacrificed this whole year with my son. Granted, I was visiting him back and forth multiple times throughout the year, but I was like, I sacrificed so much, my retirement, my military retirement, everything for this business. So it was just kind of like, what am I doing? I froze a little bit. But it was just kind of like I had to step back, which was needed. And I needed that 2 months to step back and just be like, okay, what am I doing? What can I do? This is not working. And then I'm part of Vistage, and this is a network for like executive and CEO groups that they advise you. And I was talking to them about it, and they were like, when you are dealing with this vehicle situation and this deal fell apart, it could be for various reasons, whether it could be sexism because I was in the Middle East, or it could be of race. It could be various reasons, that it doesn't concern me because I did the best I could. If people want to be, uh, if they want to treat me, differently, that's on them, They were like, why would you want to be part of that space? Well, why would you want to be in a space where you're not wanted? Why don't you go to spaces where you are wanted? So it was just kind of like letting go of that bad energy. And I was like, all right. So just having that community, they were like, you need to let that go of that bad energy so you could move forward, so you could see what's in front of you. And when I did that, then my customers were like, oh, I want product. Oh, I want this. Oh, I want this at an affordable rate because I can't afford it in the United States. So if you can get it for me from the other country, that would definitely help me, build my business. And then I started realizing my son was improving with his autism because the food in Egypt is a lot better than here in the United States. And he was getting a lot more community over there. He's like playing with kids outside all day, playing soccer, and just so much engagement. He used to have like a feeding disorder where he was like very picky with eating food, and now he eats everything. And he's a lot more social, a lot more verbal. He speaks Arabic now. And he writes and reads in Arabic. He's a very, very smart kid. And it's just in 1 year, I saw like a lot of difference in him. I saw a lot of difference in me. And I even grew as a person a lot. And it's just when I changed my perspective, I was able to adapt.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, the money's gone, but money will always come back, My health is here. That's what's more important. My son is healthy. So I was like, okay. So I was just like, my word for this year is abundance. Each year I have a word. So this year is abundance because I was worried. I was like, oh, money is gone. My son is gone. This. But this year is like abundance. And I'm like in the state of like, okay, money will come to me. Clients will come to me. My son is here. I finally brought him back at the end of last year, December 31st. And it's so good to have him back, just like in my corner, and like the world is all mine now. And it's just money is coming. Clients are coming. And now I'm even thinking, like, when I have that clarity, I was like, instead of paying all the shipping costs to bring these products here to the United States, I was like, why don't I buy the machine itself? It's called DTF. It's this heat printing machine where you get the shirt and you put it under like in the design, you press it, and that's where you get the logo. So I was like, okay, it's like $2,400. And then the shirts, I was like, I have connection in Bangladesh, I have connection in Egypt, I have connection in Dubai. I can just get them at a lower rate, probably like a few dollars, and then ship them via ocean, have them here, and then make them for my client. That way I don't have to pay a lot of shipping fees, and I could have my own like brick and mortar. And that's something I was like, okay, I could do, towards the end of this year. So it's just kind of like, when I'm like living in a state of abundance, so many ideas are flowing through my head. I have to be like, calm down, one step at a time. But it's just, it's like if you are adaptable, ideas will flow and things will come your way. Money will come, ideas will come, people will come if you're positive and adaptable. I think that adaptability is like very important because I like I said, I lost a lot of money last year, and I had to be like, okay,
A lot of,
it
I
was
mean,
scary.
a lot of people would give up. I mean, to be honest with you, you were under the safety of a government job where you could have just taken your paychecks and done your job and showed up to work every day, and then everything would have been great. But you take this huge risk. Going back to earlier, at the top of the comment that you made, where you weren't limited by your rank, you weren't limited by where you were at, like your MOS or anything. None of that stuff limited you, and a lot of it had to do with your background, where you grew up, and your worldly experiences. You were able to see beyond the end of your neighborhood and actually see into the entire world. And I wanted to highlight that about you, because I think many times in the military, our rank or our MOS can limit us to what we think we can and can't do once we leave the military. And that's what I find most amazing about you is you're basically limitless. You're literally shipping things from halfway across the world, and you've got all these connections and whatnot. Um, and not on top of that, you're a woman working in the Middle East. Like, that is not easy to do. Like, I imagine you get a lot of hang up calls and delete on your emails and stuff like that you try to send. That's very challenging. And all these ideas that you have, the toughest part is taking action. Everybody's got ideas, but you actually step out, take action, make it happen. And that's what's most impressive. Can you talked a little bit about it already, but talk about some of the trials and tribulations, the dead ends, the mistakes, the fall down, pick yourself back up again. Like, what was your worst moment, you think, when you thought, you know what, I could just quit and go find an hourly job or a salary job somewhere, and you had to like dig deep to figure out, like, how do I get out of this? How do I make this right?
That's a great question. So first, the government, I was tenured as well. So it was really hard to fire me unless I really, really messed up.
Right.
So it was just kind of like, I was just like, are you crazy? I'm like, yes, you have to be crazy to be an entrepreneur a little bit. And the trial and tribulation where you're like, I'll just go get another job. That's every day. Every day I'm just like, you know what? Why don't you just, you need to go apply for a job. And because like, what are you doing? Are you crazy? I think it's just like when, for example, like because not everything is going to work out the way I want it to work. Like I mentioned, the biggest one was when I lost like thousands and thousands of dollars in the Middle East endeavor. And when they were just kind of like, oh, because you're a woman, or when they told me, oh yeah, this is what happened. They were like, when I was in the Middle East and I was struggling with all this, and I came back and I had a coach here who's like part of the small business. I was just like, oh, they're telling me this, this, this. And he was like, well, what you can do is you can have your brother be the face of your company in the Middle East, or your like nephew, and have him represent you. I was like, first, that's fraud. And second, this is a woman-owned business company. Like, no, this is the worst idea I've ever heard. And it was just kind of like, and then when I came here, they're like, oh, your race. And I was just like, my identity was questioned. So I was just like, I'm the problem, my religion. Because now that I'm wearing the hijab again, it's like my faith, my race, and me being a woman is like being an issue, whether it's in the States or in the Middle East, mostly in the Middle East. Being a woman, like when I was in Saudi Arabia, I made an appointment and I went and I was introduced to these individuals by really high level people, like by companies that have been in the business for 100 years old. And they were like, yeah, let's meet up. And they just ghosted me.
Because they found out
I
you're a
literally
woman.
flew across the country just so I could meet them and have this meeting. And they ghosted me. And I was just like, my heart sank. I was like, okay. And then it's just kind of like, all right. I was like, forget this. And then when I'm in the States, I was just going. Then when I shifted to this apparel part, and I go, like, for example, one of them is like my broker license. I applied for my broker's license. I passed it in October 2023, I believe. It took a year to get my license, and that kept me from doing any business as a broker, because originally I was going to be a customs broker, but without license, I couldn't do anything. So in the meantime, I was like, I'm going to do consulting. In the meantime, I was like, I'm going to do branded t-shirts. And then I get my license. They're like, well, you can't really do business unless you have your permit. So that's probably going to be like another year. So then I have to shift again, and I'll be like, all right. Then I have to charge my, this branded apparel thing, and keep getting clients because I need to make money. And because I took the exam, I was preparing, because that exam is really, really difficult. Only like 5% pass rate, 5 to 15% pass rate. And I was studying for it, and I still have neck pain a year and some change later because I was like studying for it. And I still like go to physical therapy. So it's just more of like whatever like task I take. It's like I take the military saying where like you have to want it as much as you want to breathe. And when I try to translate that to civilian people that I work with, they look at me like something is wrong with me. Because I would be like, okay, you want to lose weight? I'm like, okay, because I lost about 40 pounds since between 2022 till 2025 now. And I was like, I want it as much as I want to breathe. So I was like, if I don't exercise or go on calorie deficit, like this means death. So I literally that's how I look at it. Or if I this business doesn't go right, this is what it means. And it doesn't translate well in the civilian life because they're just like, no, you're too much or you're too this. And I'm like, that's fine. Then I stop just apologizing for being myself. And I'm like, that's okay. Like being military is like, we're like the hardcore individual, like the 1%. We have this skill that we do not see. Like we undermine it, that the civilian people rarely have, that the military gives us. Like the military doesn't just give us trauma, it gives us a lot of skills. And it's like, I feel like veterans and soldiers do not recognize that. Like being so disciplined, and I'm a very, very highly disciplined individual, and it's just kind of like, I learned that from the military. Being fearless, I learned that from the military. And it's kind of like, even like I'm going to the Middle East by myself and it's scary. But the first time I faced my fears was with the military. Because when I was joining, I was like, hey, what if I die? I'm just like, well, the Lord, if it's written, whatever, So if I could face death, then I could face anything. So I think it's all in our head. And if we can change, we literally fought for our country. We're very brave individuals. If we could translate that into this world, like in the civilian world, like we could literally handle anything. Civilians have nothing. They have nothing on us. We're like superhumans in the civilian world. Like think of it that way, where our skills translate in this. It's kind of like you're a lot better than a lot of civilians. I think it's time to recognize that as a veteran, and
I
you're
do.
skilled and you're trained. I mean,
I 1,000% agree with you on that. I 1,000% agree with you on that. As a matter of fact, I had a conversation with someone the other day, and we were discussing something, and they were trying to tell me how it was, and I'm like, I was deployed there. Like, why are you telling? Like, I was in the military. My boots are still dirty. But you're a civilian. You've never been to the Middle East. You never served in Iraq or Afghanistan. Why are you telling me what it looks and smells like? And it's crazy how like you come back here and you talk to civilians and they act like you're the crazy one, but in reality, like I think they're crazy. Like because we have a world view. When I went to basic training, for example, I got an opportunity to meet as a battle buddy during basic training, a guy from Vermont, a guy from Louisiana, like all these different people you have to work with, and you get stressed out and put under time and tension and everything, and you have to figure it out. You have to work together. A lot of people don't get that experience. And even once you get stationed at your permanent duty station, you have to overcome a lot of things that most people don't have to deal with, and you have to figure it out for yourself. The only thing is I think a lot of veterans struggle with doing what you've kind of mastered, which was taking action and being fearless, and then also pivoting when you know it's right, and no one else is telling you when to pivot or when to make a decision. Whereas like in the military, I think a lot of times you're told when to pivot, when to do things.
oh yes. To answer your question about the taken action part,
Right.
there's parts to this one. First, it's innate because like in my bones, since I was a kid, I don't like people telling me what to do, which is like ironic considering the organizations I went to, the army, the government, they were literally telling me what to do. I just like, Sumeya. But like, I genuinely do not like people telling me what to do because I'm just like, I come from a culture. I love my culture. And at the same time, it's not, at the same time, it's very male centered.
Right.
So
Oh yeah.
as a woman, I'm just like, no, like the United States gave me a voice that I felt very, independent. Like, I have, I could say this, I could live this way. I have a chance to live this life, to get this education, to get this job. And I look at it from this point of view where in my country, we don't have this opportunity that the United States gives us. And we shouldn't take that for granted. So it's just kind of like whatever opportunity I get, I'll grab it and go. So that's one of the reasons where I'm like, I take action and I don't like people telling me what to do. So I go ahead and do it. And the other thing is like, the other reason why I take action is, and why I feel like other members have a hard time, doing or taking action without somebody telling them what to do. It is easier when somebody tells you what to do, because if you mess up, it's somebody's fault. It's also taking responsibility and accountability. So now I'm all on my own. Even if my employees in Egypt mess up, it's my fault. Like, I have to take responsibility. I have to go to the client and be like, oh, yes, I messed up. And sometimes it has to come out of my own pocket. There were samples where I'm like, I messed up, so I have to come out of my own pocket and get you new samples. I'm sorry. And, saying I'm sorry doesn't make you small. It just makes you a bigger person, and people appreciate that. So accountability, if you're willing to take accountability, then you're willing to take action. That's one of those. Because before I used to be like, I want people telling me what to do, but then it's just kind of like, no, because I want to blame it on them. I'd be like, well, if you hadn't told me what to do, I wouldn't have done this. But now it's just like, there's no one I could blame. I have to take all accountability. And it sucks because I don't like critical feedback, but I will take it and implement it. I never liked it because it hurts. So I tell my bosses, I'm like, give me a feedback sandwich. Tell me something positive. Tell me the negative sandwich, the negative feedback, and then the positive, and then just let me feel better. And then that way I could take it. But it's just I always take it and implement it. But if you want to take action, you have to be willing to take accountability.
Feedback
And
sandwich.
also, what'd you say? Yeah.
I'm stealing that one.
Yeah, feedback sandwich. It's so helpful. You're just like, you feel good. You're like, ouch. And then they're like, you feel good again. It's like you get ice cream at the end. And after you get like a shot or something, you feel better. You're like, oh, thank goodness, That's how I look at
I love it. Sumi, you really sound like a CEO already. I mean, you sound like a boss, a total. And I love that about you overall. Like you don't make excuses. There's 1,000 things against you. One of the things you mentioned was, working in the Middle East and being a woman yourself. And um, the one thing I want to ask you though is there's a lot of other companies out there doing what you're doing. They're going to be shipping, exporting, importing. Um, how do you plan to differentiate your business in such a competitive market? And then also too, I wanted to ask you about the most recent thing, which are the tariffs. What are your thoughts on that, and how do you think that'll affect the market that you're going to be getting into?
Thank you. So the first thing that differentiates me from my competitors is like I care about my clients. I'm with them face to face. I'm not just a phone number on a website. I'm out there networking, talking to them, and like I said, their complaints is if something is messed up, they usually don't have anybody they can go to, or they're like, oh, you have to pay me because you already got the sample. It's more like, oh, we messed up. Like, we take accountability. We care about your product. Our products are quality, and we just care about you as a human being. And we want to make sure this is more than money to us. We want to make sure that you thrive as a human being, as a business owner. We want to make sure that you succeed as a business owner. We want you to do good. We want to uplift the community. So it's not just about money. It's more than that for us, We want to like remove the barrier, the middleman for you. And all these companies, most of them care about profit, and we care about you as an individual and your company. And then the tariff. So right now, China, there was already 25% tariff on China for products coming from China. And now he just added additional 10%. And companies were already nearshoring, which means they were rerouting their products. They were going like to Mexico and Canada, mostly Mexico. What they would do is like they would put the parts together and try to label them made in Mexico, which is fraud, by the way, and try to bring it into the United States so that they don't pay duty. But the United States is catching up on that, which they're not allowed to do. And so people are staying away from China little by little because the tariffs does hurt them. And then President Trump said that he will like do tariff on Canada and Mexico, but then they retaliated. They were like, we'll do the same thing to you. So he paused because he was going to charge them 25%. And then he paused on that for 30 days until they come into an agreement. And now he said, we're going to match whatever you do. So if you charge us duty, we're going to charge you duty, which I think is fair. Like if you're charging us duty, I think you should be charged duty. But at the end of the day, what the people should know, because President Trump is saying America first, and we want America to be first, but the tariffs is always the burden of the consumer. not the companies. Because as a company, if I bring those products, my customers are paying the tariffs. I'm paying for the tariffs, and then I'm going to upcharge them, because at the end of the day, the burden is always on the consumer. So the consumer is getting hurt. Their bills are higher. So tariff does not help the, regular American people. It hurts them.
So does that
Those
concern
are my
you?
thoughts.
Does that
Huh?
concern you though? Does that concern you with like what you're doing? Or
So
does it
right
kind of,
now,
or does it level the playing field for everybody?
because my items come from Egypt, it's not of concern as of right now. It's just regular duty for certain cotton products. But if unless it's pen to paper and he actually puts out a policy, then I'll be concerned. Because when I was working with Customs and Border Protection, I was working under President Trump's administration, and he tweeted a lot of things, and not everything was policy. And when people were concerned about the tweets, we let them know, hey, until it's policy, don't worry about it. So that's the same advice that I'm following. And then I update my clients. I'm like, okay, this is the update. This is what's going on. And then I just adapt. I'm like, okay, if you're charging Canada this much or you're charging China, don't worry, I'm just going to go to another country that you're not charging, and then I'm going to get it from there.
Right.
Always that, simpler to do.
Yeah.
It's always
I
another option. It's fine. We'll
and
be okay.
I really think that's the difference that your company offers versus the other companies is, for one, you have Sumi's tenacity to never quit, right? And then also too, like your willingness to just adapt and to simply go, okay, well, we'll just ship out of here, or we'll ship out of there, and all the connections that you have. And at the end of the day, you're multi-language, right? So how has that helped you with your global background overall, with being able to adapt and being able to laterally move from here to there when it comes to the business decisions that you make?
Tremendously. Because I don't think this merchandise apparel thing would be happening if I didn't speak Arabic. Because how would I communicate with the Egyptian people? How would I speak with my employees in Egypt? I can't speak to them in any other language. I can't tell that, like, there was not, they don't, their English, the people English is limited. Not like there are people who speak English there, but not the people that I'm working with. If I didn't have Arabic, I wouldn't be making money right now. And I would be stuck with me complaining about, I was like, oh my God, the car situation doesn't work. I don't have money. Let me get a full-time job. There would be no apparel business. And, yeah, I would probably be stuck waiting for my permit, which I am, but I have other options. I would be a lot more stressed and, more angry and more just annoyed at everything. And I don't think I would have good energy.
What about like understanding culture too? That's huge, right?
Yes. Yes. So Egypt, I love Egypt. It's my favorite, like from the Middle East, that's my favorite place I've been. I think like from the places I've been in the Middle East, like next to Dubai, they're really good. The way the women are treated, like you feel some type of way. Like if somebody's like harassing you on the street, like you say something, the police sees them, they throw them in jail. Like they're very like leave this woman alone, let them be. They're very, very, very respectful. And and the culture, understanding the culture, the food. And when you know their language and their culture, you respect them, they respect you. It's a very different treatment. Same thing with Turkey. Same thing. Like I've been to Turkey multiple times because I speak their language. Is just kind of like the treatment is so much different. I get so much more respect, so much more favor. It's just you're treated differently and you experience the world in a different perspective, as you're missing out on the world if you're not experiencing different cultures. And it helps my business in every possible way. Because
Yeah.
you're seeing the people and you never know who's going to help you. And when people feel seen and respected, then they're like, I want to work with you. I think that also what makes us different is we see people. We're like, we see you, we're here for you, we understand you.
You check so many boxes, and that's really important, I think, because at the end of the day, you're not the type of professional that makes any excuses at all. you constantly pivot, and that's so impressive. I keep underlining that about you. At the end of the day, you're a role model. Um, what is your long-term vision for Phoenix Global, um, overall? Like, what is your long-term vision? What do you hope to sustain, accomplish in the next 5 to 10 years?
And the next, so let's start with the 10 years. In the next 10 years, I want a shipping line. That big shipping line, the boats. Yeah, I want to own that, God willing. So I want to be able to control, my goal is to control end-to-end supply chain. So I already have people overseas. I already have people here. If I control the boat, and then I'll eventually get my freight forwarding license, and then I'll be able to be a freight forwarder. I'll be able to ship or like just be a DHL, but Phoenix Global, but bigger than them. Yeah. So just kind of have a monopoly in a way of the shipping, but just in a different way, like and just kind of disrupt the current market. That's my goal.
And
That's the 10-year plan.
so what's
And the
your
5 year is probably to become a millionaire. Yeah. That's the plan.
I think overall with your ability to just move left and right, back and forth, I mean that's certainly within reach. Who do you model yourself after, or is there anyone out there that you look at as like that's who I strive to hopefully become or emulate? Is there somebody that you look to as like this is who I want to become?
Honestly, the future Sumeya. Because the reason I say that is because I learn, so I'm a very efficient individual and I learn very, very fast. So if I emulate someone, I'll surpass them because I am granted that talent because of the Lord. And so if I emulate them, then I'll just limit myself because I'm a limitless individual, as you say. I could just look up to myself and that future Sumeya and the vision, and that's who I look up to and where I see myself, and that's who I just keep going towards.
Where do you get that from? Who inspired you
Who inspired me for?
as a child growing up? Who gave you that? Is that just something that you think you were born with, or is it something that like your father, your mother, maybe a sibling that kind of you feel like might have gave you that overall like push?
The lack of. If you watched my Phoenix Global Shipping video, brand video, that was like get to know the CEO. It's the lack of, I was feeling powerless, like as a young age. I remember like at age 11, and I was praying, and I was like praying for financial freedom. I wanted to be free, and I wanted to be independent. I wanted to be in control of my own life. But I just felt everybody was taking control of my own life, of my life. Everybody was just pointing me to a direction. And it's just kind of like, it was just always, I felt like I was under somebody's thumb. And I just felt, I felt stuck and frozen like in place. And I'm meant to be free. And just the desire to be free is what drives me to do all of this.
I think that's just so inherent, man. I think that you were born with it. I mean, at the end of the day, some people have someone who inspires them to be a certain way, and sometimes I think people are just sometimes born to be CEOs, just like yourself. Um, what message do you want folks to walk away from this interview with today about Sumi and Global Phoenix or Phoenix Global? Sorry.
One message would be one of the things that I go by all the time is sustenance comes from the creator, not humans. So whether you believe in the universe or God or higher being, it's always believing that your sustenance will come from that bigger being and not your boss. Because if you believe your boss is responsible for your paycheck or your manager is responsible for the job that you have or the military is responsible for you being hired or just human beings in general, then you will always be somebody's slave. Like you will always be somebody's under somebody. You will never be free. But if the moment you say, you know what, like if this is meant for me, if this is written for me, it will always be for me. So I'm going to act according to my ethics, to my rules, to my boundaries, and to my standards, like the world will open up for you. You will honor yourself, and people will like. There's like a certain glow, and people will respect you more for it, and you'll get more. So just don't give your power away to human beings. Is what. Just remembering that sustenance comes from the creator, not human beings. That's like number one. Like just remember, like people are just people. They're not that all. Don't put people on pedestals. You know, and just because you are valuable, just because you exist, like your career, your rank doesn't make you, lower or higher. That you're just because you exist and you're a good human, that makes you valuable.
You know, the one thing, I've always thought about too was, I feel like people who have sacrificed for me, who have given me opportunity, who've given me a chance, who've gone to bat for me, I've always felt like I wanted to live up to making it worth their while. And I owed it to them to make something of myself. And I didn't want anything to be done in vain. So if I ever had a leader that was able to go to bat for me, put their rank on the line for me, I wanted their risk to not be done in vain. And it was important for me to accomplish more. And I think a lot of people don't think about that. Like whether it's your mother, your father, your grandma, grandpa, whoever it is in your life, that literally, like when your family decided to move to the United States, there's a huge risk there. They did that for a better life in the United States, right? But at the end of the day, they could have just stayed in East Africa and it would have been easier, right? But then they took this huge risk. So Sumi, the fact that you are making their sacrifice worth their time, effort, energy, blood, sweat, and tears, that's huge. That is huge. And I think that's really important for people out there to think about, because there's always people in our lives that go out of their way to make things better for us, and we should not take that for granted. So I highly respect you and I highly appreciate you for the person that you are, the professional that you are. I love talking to you because you're so inspirational to me overall. So thank you for this opportunity to talk to you today. And I just wanted to give you an opportunity. Was there anything that I didn't mention or talk about during this podcast that you want to talk about in addition to talking about substance?
No, thank you so much. This was great. And I just wanted to say, like, the military community is just, like I said, I just wanted to highlight, like, superhumans. And when I go into the civilian world and I compare our skills, and like I said, like, when you're doing great things, there was someone that I was working with, right? And like, because we move fast because we're in that pace, and they might feel threatened by it and try to be like, calm down or slow down and kind of pull you back. But like, don't let that stop you. You are meant to be fast. You're meant to be superhuman. And like, just recognize your skill. Like, don't undermine it. And just, use that to your advantage. Like, you have that. And not a lot of people do. You're amazing. You have so many skills. You're beyond your rank. Like, just this little thing is the discipline. Like, the military is awesome. So you got this military community.
I love it. I love the community overall. And I love what you said about like your rank doesn't identify your capabilities even outside of the military overall. And yeah, no, it's absolutely amazing. Overall, I would say that anyone out there, make sure you link up with Sumi. I'll make sure that I have your LinkedIn profile down there because I know you're active on LinkedIn. I'll make sure that I have your Instagram on there as well, and any other information you want to provide. It'll be in the show notes of the podcast that you're listening to right now, or if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you scroll down to the description at the bottom. You can find the information to connect with Sumi. And just, it's been awesome following you. It's been awesome. Like everything from the Act Now education days to transitioning out of the military to where you're at right now. I'm super proud of you.
Thank you, Act Now. I still use them. I reached out. I was like, I want to get my PMP. And they're really great about that. So I do appreciate Act Now. Oh, get in touch with them. They have so many certifications. Jay Sutter, he's pretty great for the communities.
Jay is insanely crazy. He is crazy, man. The man never sleeps,
He
but he
does.
has a
He's awesome.
true passion for the military community, and I'm fortunate
Such
to
an
be
inspiration. Yeah.
no doubt. Well, Sumi, thank you so much for the opportunity today. I hope we can talk again. And for everyone else out there, as always, I want you to stay tuned, stay focused, and stay motivated. Warriors, fall out.